Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be looking at AI once again, but this time I'm going to try and do an in-depth video step by step to show you how I take my prompt from ChatGPT into an actual product that you could then go on and sell. It is a bit of a longer video, so please bear with it, but I'm covering everything from design, cutting and painting. So hopefully you'll enjoy this video and find it beneficial. So we'll get started then. What you want to do is you want to open up the browser of your choice, and in the search bar or in the address bar type in ChatGPT and then hit enter, and that will bring up a list of search results, and normally it's right at the top there, and you just click on that. Most of the time you'll get asked to sign in, but I'm already signed in, so this is what you'll get given, and this is where you can type in your request for ChatGPT to make. So rather than making you watch what I typed, you can just pause the video now and read it. So the aim of the game is just to be as descriptive as possible. You can see there that I've even described how the font should look. Once you're happy, you click that black circle with the arrow in it, and then ChatGPT starts doing its thing. It does take a little bit of time, so I have fast forwarded it, but you can see it's produced this image here. Well, it's quite a good image. I could technically use two parts from this, but I find it's a little bit too much on the drippy side, and the centre of the pumpkin's got a lot of floating pieces that I don't really want in this final design, so we're going to ask it to change that, and you can see what I've done there by pausing and reading. This is where it got a bit confused, so I just told it that I wanted it to do the revised prompt. Typed as, "I'd like you to revise the design to suit the prompt." And then hit that go button again and wait for ChatGPT to do its thing. This time around it was much better, not as complicated for the drips, and there wasn't as many floating parts in the actual pumpkin itself. So I'm happy with that, so we just click that download button there, and then that'll go into your download files wherever they may be on your PC. I'm opening up Inkscape here and importing the image so we can start editing it. The first thing to do is a PNG file, so we need to create a SVG or a vector. So we're going to use trace bitmap, which can be found under the path option at the top left of your screen there, and then that'll open up a toolbox on your right. There's lots of different settings that you can play about with in this part of the program. However, for this type of image it doesn't need much tweaking at all, so you just select whatever threshold you think looks best. So once you're happy with the results, you just go down to the bottom center there and hit apply. So now that we've done that, you can see that we have a vector image and we've still got that PNG. You can tell it's a vector because if you double click on it you get the nodes. So we just go up to edit and delete the PNG. You can press the hotkey delete on your keyboard, but I'm trying to show as much as possible so those that maybe don't use Inkscape as much know how to do this. So now that we've got the file as a vector, we have to go ahead and edit a few bits that I wanted to change. I'm going to add a drip to this P, and to start with we're going to go to Object, Fill and Stroke to change that, and then you'll see it's just disappeared the fill, so we need to bring in the stroke paint setting, and then it's quite simple to edit these. You just click and drag. To create the extra nodes you double click on the line. That's what I'm doing there. Those little square boxes are nodes, and you can just move them around and get the design to suit yourselves. So I'm just again bending those lines by clicking and dragging, and then adding extra nodes here, and then we'll get rid of the center one to make that corner there a little bit more of a curve. But we'll zoom in and you can see me drawing a bounding box or selection box just around it. Again, edit and then delete that, and you can see how it's automatically made that curve. And we'll do the same with the other side. Again, edit and delete. So there's going to be a fair bit of copying and repetitive stuff going forward, so not all of it will get shown, but the main steps to get this image how you want it is going to be shown. So hopefully it will help you. So next what we're going to do is we're going to create the backing board, and to do that we need to use what's called a linked offset. So once we've selected it, we'll go up to path and then down to linked offset. And then that will do is it will bring up a wee control node, and then you can just drag to suit this. Now it does fill it, so what I have to go do is go into the fill options, turn that fill off, and make sure the line fill is on. And then you can see it's giving us a nice bounding box around the text and the image itself. What next we need to do is path and object to path, and that creates a path obviously. And then we need to go down and break it apart to get rid of the extra stuff we don't need. And to do the easiest way I can describe to do this is what you need to do is select the two things you want, move them out of the way, and then draw a selection box around the outside. So we'll do that now. So to select, you just click on it, holding shift key, and then click on the main design itself, and that selects both of those. Now we can click and drag them across out the way and draw a selection box around what's left on the page, and then just press delete or go up to edit and delete like that, and that gets rid of them. So now we've got the main design and the backing board that it's going to sit on. So we're going to aim it is to hang this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to add little pieces to the top. So what we'll do is we'll go back to ChatGPT and put in this prompt here. Again, pause to read, and there's a perfect wee pumpkin that we can use as add-ons to hang the design. So again, just download it, and then this time make sure you import it. Don't open, because if you open, you'll open a new project, and just import that in. Again, this will come in as a PNG, so we need to trace the bitmap on that, which I've done off camera there, just to save a little bit of time. And then we're just resizing it. So you'll notice that there's either curved arrows or straight arrows. The curved arrows are for rotation, and the straight arrows are for scaling or resizing. So we'll just bring it across and resize it to suit the image. I don't want it massive, but at the same time I want you to be able to see what it is. So we're just going to copy that, paste it in, and drag it back above the image there, and then using the mirror tool or flip object tool, we'll just flip it so it's mirrored, and then roughly position it where we want it on the other side. Once we're happy with that, we need to open the align and distribution box, which we don't have open. So we'll go to object, and then down the bottom there you can see align and distribute. Click that, and then that opens this panel. Now there's loads of different options and ways to do this, but most importantly, where it says page, you want to make sure it doesn't say page, and preferably last selected, and then you can use the bottom align tool, and then that just aligns both tools perfectly. Then we want to group them or union them, which is path union, and then we're going to link to offset them, because I want obviously have a little bit of room round outside of them, and then join them to the main backboard. So again, turn that fill off so you can see what's happening. You can see that little line round it there, and then we'll go path, object to path, and then that's that. So we need to go in and remove the extra bits in the middle. So again, break apart, and then that will break them two apart, and then you can see it's not selecting the middle pieces. So what I'm going to do is group all that so we don't delete the wrong things by accident. So to group those, we go up to object and down to group, or you can press Ctrl and G and that groups them as well. Move them out of the way, draw a selection box around the scrap that we don't want, and press delete or edit and delete. Now we're just going to drag them back on top, and then we'll use the align tool and center align them with the full image. So select both of those by holding shift and align. Center align is that little image there. So once we're happy with that, we are going to add the little sort of borders of them to the main things by going path and then union, You can see how it's joined onto the backing board there. And again with the other side, double click, select both of them by pressing shift and then union again. So now what I want to do is resize it, but at the moment it's displaying the measurements in pixels. So we need to go to document properties, and then here you'll see display units, and change that to millimeters, and same on there for the page size. Once we've done that, now we can go up to here and type in 210, because that's a bit of A4 paper, and that's roughly the size I want this thing. And then by having that padlock locked, it keeps everything in the right scale. So now what I'm going to do is make the circles for the holes that we can use for string to tie this thing up. So to make the circles, we'll grab the circle tool across on the left hand side there and zoom in a little bit, and then holding control and dragging that out keeps the circle perfectly round. And then we can resize it up here in the toolbar by selecting the size we want. I'm going to go for 6mm. That's pretty decent size, not too big and not too small, easy enough to get a bit of string through. And then we'll copy that and paste it on the other side there. And don't worry about alignment, because we'll do that with the alignment and distribution box on the right hand side. Once we've got them selected, we just go to center align or bottom align, either one works the exact same, and then group them by going up to object and group, or again control and G. So now we just need to make sure they're centered aligned to the actual design, which they are, which is perfect. And now we are going to make the line a little bit thicker so you can see it. So now we're going to copy and paste this, because we need two of them. One's going to be the cutout letters and artwork, and then the rest is going to be the background. And we're going to show you how to line it up so we can have the kiss cut on the backing board, so you can see where every piece gets glued perfectly, and then take it from there. So now we're just going to draw a selection box around it, and then press Ctrl and C to copy it, and then Ctrl V to paste it in once we've made space on the page, that is. So there we go, we've got an exact duplicate, and what we're going to do is we're going to change the fill, I'll turn off the fill so we've just got the line. So again, press that X button, gets rid of that fill, and we can just see the cut line there. So we could go in and we could remove all the smaller parts in the middle, like from the stocks there, because we don't technically need them, but they're handy for painting as a reference as to where the colours are going to go. So next what we're going to do is I'm going to put a wee border around these smaller pumpkins using a linked offset again. That's because they're going to be standalone items that get glued on to the main backing board, and I've not done that yet. So we'll just go ahead and use the linked offset. And as always, for some reason it comes up as a black fill instead of just a line. It could be something in the settings, but I've not looked that far yet. So I'm going to do the same to both, and just checking there that there's a big enough size, and I thought I would make it a wee bit bigger. Path and object to path, and then that obviously creates the path for the cutter, the laser cutter to follow. I need to get rid of those center pieces though, so we're going to break it all apart and just select them and delete them. Sometimes you can draw a bounding box around them, but you can see there that didn't quite work, so I'm going to make sure they're selected and then draw a bounding box around them. And I did the exact same for the right hand side off camera, just to save you watching it too many times. And that's that done. Then we can drag them off, because we don't need them on the actual backing board, because like I say, they're going to be standalone items. So you can see there are two individual items that will move into position in a wee while. Just need to make sure they're grouped so they are all one piece, so we don't lose anything. And then you can see I've deleted the pumpkins off the actual frame there, and I'm doing the same for the main object there, but I actually don't need them there. So what I've done now is I've separated everything off, lined it all up so it takes up the least amount of space. So this is the colour scheme I'm thinking about going, and I'm going to have a yellow background on it as well. So it's a bit different to how I normally do things. I normally use inserts as colour, but this time I'm using cutouts, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. So now to get it into LightBurn, we just draw a selection box around it and then go to copy in the edit menu there and open up LightBurn and hit paste by right clicking. You can see here that it's went a bit Pete Tong, so we have to change it all to a line and then select the areas that we want to fill. So to do that, you need to select everything and then press that single guy, which means ungroup. Do it a few times just to make sure you've got everything ungrouped, and then you can see here that it's grouped. But if you pressed fill here, it would fill the wrong colours. So we need to individually select those parts, or again drawing a bounding box around them just by clicking and dragging, and then holding shift key as well is important because that keeps everything going. And then you can see just how I'm doing it, just drawing a wee box over them. It's easier than trying to find the exact point to select sometimes. And then we can group them again and then change that setting. We need to change the colour and then make sure it's a fill, so you can see I've done that there. So what I'm doing now is I'm just grouping the cut lines together. Again, selecting them, holding shift and clicking with my mouse button, and doing the same for the outside edge of the back frame. Now what I'm doing is I'm just selecting the items that are going to be the kiss cut lines. Now I was just double checking there that the holes were staying as cut lines, because obviously we want to cut the holes out so you can put your string through. So I've just changed them to the red fill. I'll go in later and set all that, the cut settings and stuff. So here again, I'm just drawing a bounding box over the majority of the design and then holding shift key, individually selecting all the pieces that have been missed out, and then pressing that group button at the top. Nice and simple, and then we can just change the colour of that cut file to red so it knows to just kiss cut. But just now, what you see me doing is again selecting those outer edges just to make sure they're all grouped together, so it's all one item, and it's easy to change the cut files for that. So now that I'm happy with all that, then I'm just going to finish editing that last pumpkin dead quick. I'll speed it up so you don't have to sit through the whole process, but you get the general idea from the previous ways I've done it. And now it's just a case of making sure that right hand side is all a cut file, not a kiss cut file. So the difference with a kiss cut and a cut is you're just gently scoring the surface of the board that you're using as a back plate. That way it saves you having to cut out cardboard as a template. You can just line up the pieces with that, and then you want to make sure you reorder it so your cut line is always last. That way you're not going to have moving pieces when you're engraving. So now that I'm happy, I'm just grouping all the cut lines together, just making sure it's all one piece, and then that should be ready to go. So by right clicking on the colour there, it flashes up what's what. It's a handy wee tip. I didn't know that to start with, and I thought it was quite handy. So you can see here I've just made sure that backboard's all selected as the right file, and that's job's a good one. Basically, we're happy. So now that that's all done, then we can jump across into the laser and get this cut out and engraved. Right, so now that we're over at the laser, I'm just going to get this cut out, and then I'll show you some tips that I've got for removing parts from the laser, and then we'll get it painted. Well, the undercoat started anyway. As always, we're just going to frame the job, just make sure it's fitting where we want it to go. Trying up as close to the edge as possible without being off the edge, and it's perfect. And then we will sit, just bring it into the middle, autofocus, and then we're good to go. So as you saw me in LightBurn, I was just reorganising the cut files to make sure it engraved first. That's what I'm doing just now. And once it's done that, it'll start doing the kiss cut, which is like, again, you can barely see it on camera. I'll zoom in, and you can see it's barely scoring the very surface of the board there, and that's just, again, just to make sure everything's lined up perfectly. It's a really handy technique. You can also use it to enhance engravings as well. So if you've got like a word or whatever, you can use that feature, and it just sharpens up the engraving. I don't know why it looks sharper. It shouldn't make a difference, but it does. It's quite cool. Anyway, right, so as you may know, I am affiliated with Aeon, and I have a sponsorship where I do these videos, and I also get a referral code for the UK, and also if you're outside of the UK and you want one, you can email directly to Aeon. The details of that are down below in the description. So if you fancy grabbing yourself an Aeon Laser, use the reference link there, the Aeon one, and then use my discount code for 5% off, and you will get a cracking machine with a 5% discount. Not only that, but then I get a little bit of commission, which I can use to get more materials and more mediums to make tutorials for you guys. And then I can continue doing these videos because I'm not yet monetized on YouTube. I've not quite met the watch hours restrictions. So at the moment I don't get paid for making these videos. I'm just doing them to help you guys out. So that commission, if I get it from sales, really helps me out because I can plough that money back into materials and different mediums to laser cut and do tutorials on. So yeah, if you can, use that link below if you're thinking about buying an Aeon machine, and I highly recommend them. They're absolutely fantastic and worth every penny. Especially if you're serious and you're at it full time. I really recommend you go check them out in that link below. Thanks. So now that job cut out, and you can see it took 14 minutes and 18 seconds to cut that out, and that is looking fantabulous. So I said earlier that I was going to show you a wee tip on how to remove this from the board but not losing pieces. So it's dead easy. You just get some masking tape and run it across like that, making sure you catch all the bits and then rip it off. Now I don't need all the pieces from this, so I'm just going to put one strip across there and one strip across there. And the same with happy. Now I don't need to worry about this because obviously that's all one piece, and if the bits fall out, that's fine. Now I'm going to take out the laser and take it across to where I spray paint stuff, and then we'll spray it with an undercoat, and then I'll show you how I spray the rest of it. Now, so basically by doing that, what you're stopping happening is all these little stupid bits that you don't need, all the scraps, all the wastes going into the bottom of the laser, and then if you've got multiple jobs on, it saves time in cleaning the laser out and gives you a quicker workflow. So I'm just going to pop all these bits out now because we're out the laser. You can see the Mira 9S has done a fantastic job of cutting them out. Nice and tight, very small kerf on that laser, which is brilliant. Just pop that through from that side. There is one piece here that I'll need to go looking for because I'm not sure if it came out with the laser or if it's in the laser itself, but I need that bit. That's the only bit that I seem to have lost already. I always lose pieces, unfortunately, but you can just make more. So from this piece I only need the mouth and the nose. I can just pop that out. There's that little piece here. Tiny little bit. So when you're spraying tiny little bits like that, what I tend to do is put them on a piece of tape, like so. I think I've just snapped that piece, so I'm going to have to recut that bit. Obviously, if you're maximising profit and time in the workshop, you would have the laser running, doing another job at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to space all these out evenly on the work surface here, and then come in with a light coating of undercoat before putting any colour down, because MDF is like a sponge. Right, so now we're ready for some undercoat. I'm just using this. I get it from Spray Star. I'll include a link down below. Because this one's going yellow, I'm going to raise it up slightly and try and get all the edges a bit better on this bit. So we'll let it sit and dry and then come back out and give it some colour. Right, so we've left this to sit for like 16 hours, and there's a few different colours that are going on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape it up, mask it up, and then spray the little bits, and then come back in with the main colours. So when I'm masking up, I usually use frog tape because I find it's the best for stopping bleeding, but I didn't have any to hand this day. So I'm just using cheap tape, and it comes back and bites me in the butt later because some of the paint actually bled, unfortunately. It is what it is, and this is a demo piece just to show you how it can be done. Dead simple. Again, if you're doing things like this as a main business, you're not going to be doing individual pieces like one project at a time. You're going to have multiple things laid up. You're going to have it all color coordinated, easy for me to say. You're going to have it labelled, everything like that, so it just speeds up the process. So I didn't film the actual yellow getting sprayed, or the orange for that matter. It's the same process, and I really didn't want to bore you too much by making you sit through all that. So I've just cut that bit out for you. So now it's assembly time, and I'm just using a MiraS super glue and accelerator, and just putting little dots in the bits that are going to basically need glued down. I don't worry too much about the fingers because the MDF's pretty strong, and it holds quite well. So I just go around doing it for all the individual pieces and get that glued in, and you can see here that the effects they're pretty decent. Normally, like I said before, I would use the infills as the colour, but I wanted to change it up and have the background showing the colour of the pumpkin and give it a sort of 3D effect, and I think it looks really good. The black gloss of the pumpkin looks awesome, and the red, yellow and black combo I think works really well. It's quite effective. Obviously, this is just a demo on how you can use ChatGPT to make artwork basically for you to laser cut. It doesn't really matter what the finished product is on this video, it's just a process showing you how to get it done. And even if you don't have the best tech skills, it is possible with some free programs to create some awesome artwork. As always, I hope this video has been really helpful for you. I hope I've went into depth enough and explained everything slowly and clearly, and it's really helped you out. If it has, please do consider subscribing and leaving a thumbs up on the video. As always, it really helps. Thanks very much, guys. Bye.